Hello and welcome back to the channel for the final video of this month, which is going to be another top 10. And this time it's on my top 10 favorite video games. Now in my pickups videos, anytime I pick up video games, I show it off. I have, mentioned video games before. Um, I even did a 3 hour deep dive into the Gears of War franchise. So yeah, these are my top 10 favorite video games. The main rule that I have is one per franchise. So for the Elder Scrolls, I can only pick either, any of them: Arena, Daggerfall, Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim. It can only be one from that particular franchise. So, yeah, with that being said and the rules established, let's see what my number 10 is.
So number 10 goes to Bakugan Battle Brawlers, specifically the Nintendo DS version. Why? Well, because that's the one that I played the most, and until recently, it was the only version that I had. So, yeah, back in 2008, when the show started up, I obviously got into it because it was a mix of Pokemon meets Yu-Gi-Oh! And to be honest, it's still a solid anime for the first season anyway, because I'd never fully watched New Vestroia or Gundalian Invaders, Mectanium Surge, that type of stuff. I'm getting ahead of myself. But I remember it well because I was really looking forward to receiving it of Christmas of 2009 because I was also getting a DSi at the same time. And I remember just looking up videos of gameplay footage of it. And the more footage I was seeing and watching, the more excited and, dying to play it that I was. And as soon as I got my hands on it, I instantly fell in love with it. The story of you get to build your own character, you get to choose which faction you want to join, out of the six attributes. You get your own unique Bakugan, though in the new modern series they did make a Leonidas, but not this Leonidas. And just the story you go through, slowly joining the Battle Brawlers, introducing a new one off unique main villain, and as well as a unique villain Bakugan being Vladitor, and the ending was really emotional. And it is difficult, especially when it gets to the battle royale style of tournaments, because it's basically just tournaments that you go through. But still, I had a fantastic time with this game. I love it, and I love it every time I revisit it. So number 9 goes to an odd one for me, and that is Civilization Revolution. Why do I say it's odd? Well, because it's not my normal type of game. You see, I received this game for free on the Xbox 360 store, back when they actually used to give 2 free games a month away. And this was one of them. And I downloaded it and I tried it. Didn't necessarily like it the first time, but the more I went back to it and actually learned how to play the game, it's a strategy board game, the more I was starting to get into it. Now, I haven't played any of the other Civilization games, only Revolution. And I love Revolution. The amount of hours I have sunk into this game that I wish the Xbox 360 actually kept track of. Because I would really love to know how many hours I've actually sunk into this game. Just through many other different playthroughs. There's multiple ways of winning. You either build the seven wonders of the world, you conquer the entire board, or you reach interstellar space. But it is one game that I love to return to every now and again. And yeah, it's just one of those games that normally I wouldn't think twice of, turning out to be one of my actual favorite games. Number 8 goes to Dead Rising 2. This was the first Dead Rising game that I ever played. I never really played one until rather recently, and I was introduced to Dead Rising 2 by my cousin, and I instantly fell in love with it. Not so much for the plot aspect of it, more so of the going around killing zombies with any old weapon that I could find, including a giant dildo. I'm not kidding, you could actually go about and finding a giant dildo, and you can make your own lightsaber. To do so, all you need is a flashlight and some diamonds, and boom, you have a lightsaber that changes color every time you switch to it. Now, obviously, it's not going to be called a lightsaber due to licensing reasons, but still, going around fighting zombies with a lightsaber is very fucking fun. Especially one of my favorite weapons to make every now and again is getting a canoe paddle and a chainsaw and making a double-ended chainsaw and just going to town on the zombies. Like, I love this game, and as my first Dead Rising game, of course it was going to be my favorite. I even at one point owned a steelbook for the PlayStation 3 version back when I used to have a PlayStation 3, and I would play hours upon hours into this game. Eventually I did go about playing the main story, and I did get the game for free off of the Xbox 360 marketplace. Again, back when they actually used to give us good games for free. So yeah, Dead Rising 2 is at my number 8 spot. Oh, South Park: The Stick of Truth, how I love you. So number 7 is gonna go to The Stick of Truth. South Park's The Stick of Truth. Why? Well, because initially it wasn't a game that I liked. I remember clear as day. It was after Christmas. I had a bit of voucher left to spend on the Xbox market. I had bought Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and had €30 left, and I was trying to think of what game to get. And then I remember hearing good things about the South Park Stick of Truth game. I bought it, tried playing it, didn't like it, stopped playing it for months, then went back to it and instantly fell in love with the game because it is a true love letter to RPGs, and it's what spawned the actual 3 South Park games that we have: Stick of Truth, Fractured Butthole, and Snow Day, even though Snow Day isn't great from what I'm hearing. And I have replayed it so many times that I can even play it on the max difficulty and only die a couple of times. Now, that's not much of an achievement because the game is actually pretty fucking easy. But still, Stick of Truth is one massive love letter to the show, with the amount of references and wacky, zany stuff that happens to the point where, at one point during one of the night missions, you literally watch your parents have sex, and you get an achievement for that, for standing watching your parents do it for about 10, 20, 30 seconds. I can't remember which, but that is an actual achievement in the game. And it's just a lot of fun, hanging out with the boys. You create your own character, you can create your own look. You fart on people, but you have to remember not to fart on someone's balls because that's not cool. But it's honestly a barrel of fun, and out of the 2 that I played, this one and um Fractured Butthole, I definitely say I had a lot more fun with the Stick of Truth. So, number 6, as we're halfway through this list, goes to Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. I wish I knew how many hours I've put into this game, because it would be a lot of hours, running through at the time, all 6 episodes of Star Wars, collecting all the characters, buying all the characters, buying the ghost version of the characters, which were always fucking expensive, and creating your own character to be able to replay through the missions. And I just had so much fun, especially because, since it being 2-player, I would play with some of my cousins a lot. And the one mission that was always annoying that we would play through is, of course, the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight. Simply because as we are running through that mission, trying to get to the next part, either usually it would be me, would constantly fall into lava, or purposely fall into lava so that way we don't continue to progress, or start to fight my cousin just so that, time runs out and all that stuff. But it was all in great fun. It was all in great fun, and it's one of my childhood favorites that I remember the most, and it's one that I love to go back to every now and again. I don't care about the newer Lego games, where they actually added in voice acting. I don't care for those. They have no interest to me. Give me the no voiced versions of the Lego games that implies the humor with visual instead of telling you, and I'll take that any fucking day. So, number 5 goes to Crash Twinsanity, Crash Bandicoot Twinsanity for the PlayStation 2. Also on the Xbox, but I only had a PlayStation 2 growing up. I love the Crash Bandicoot franchise. I have been a fan of it ever since my mother introduced it to me, because she was a not only a gamer for a short time, but a massive fan of the Crash Bandicoot franchise. She was so big into the game to the point where she actually had to put the PlayStation into my room. Otherwise, she would just spend hours upon hours upon hours actually playing the game. So that's how I ended up with the PlayStation 2 in my room instead of it being in the sitting room. But I have so many fond memories of Twinsanity, and not only that, the fucking soundtrack is amazing. The fact that it's largely just all a cappella, like it. Granted, it's not the best. There's definitely a lot of glitches, and they are under a lot of time crunch for the game, and it may not be the best at platformers, but Twinsanity holds a lot of special memories and sentimentality to me that I just could not put it on this list. So that is why Twinsanity is on this list. So number 4 goes to the first Call of Duty game I ever played, and that was World at War. It was how I got introduced to it. Well, like most of the games that I played as a kid, my older cousin, he had either owned it or rented it, and I had a 360 at the time, the old arcade model, and it was him. I think he was staying the night, so it was me, him, and another childhood friend of mine who used to live across the way from me, and we would just play it, mainly just the multiplayer. But as after that, when I started to actually play through the campaign, and then eventually bought my own copy of the game, that I started playing through the campaign, and honestly, I know World at War is seen as the birthplace of the Nazi zombie game mode, but the fucking storyline is amazing. You play as both the Americans and the Russians. The Americans, they're going through, they're fighting the Japanese, all of that. And it's good. But when you get to the Russian side, when you're playing as Private Dmitri with Victor motherfucking Reznov, that is when shit gets real. I mean, it wasn't until several years ago that I realized that the voice for Victor Reznov is motherfucking Gary Oldman, and that blew my mind. But to me, like, it was a tough call. It was either the World at War or it was going to be Black Ops 1, because these two were the ones that I put the most time into. I mean, my very first YouTube channel's name was Only Use the MP40 because I was playing so much World at War and only using the MP40. So yeah, as much as I love the zombies mode, the campaign is just as great as playing either Nocturne Oten, Zombies Verrucht, or as I like to call it, Zombies You're Fucked, or Shino Numa or Darice. I will go through the campaign more times than I will play zombies on World at War. Don't get me wrong, Zombies on World at War is pretty good because you feel the impact on guns actually ripping into zombies. Using the Browning and the PPSH 41 against the zombies, the Wunderwaffe even. But to me, World at War campaign, I love it. It's why it's high up on my list. Okay, so number 3 goes to Pokemon Diamond, the very first mainline Pokemon game I ever played. Now, this was another tough choice. Like with the choice between either World at War or Black Ops, this was between Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team, the very first Pokemon game I ever played. So, why did I decide to go for Pokemon Diamond instead of Red Rescue Team? And the answer is there's a lot more memories with my first region, my first mainline Pokemon game, than Mystery Dungeon. Don't get me wrong, I love Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team. I will always say it's the best out of all the Mystery Dungeon games. However, there's just so much nostalgic for me with Pokemon Diamond. You know, the theme, the the soundtrack, the Pokemon. Like it's the only generation of Pokemon where I love all three starters and have no problem choosing to use all three starters. You know, it's it has a great story. Granted, Platinum did flesh it out a lot more. Um, some fantastic Pokemon designs. Like like I said, I love the three starters of Chimchar, Piplup, and Turtwig, especially their final evolutions of Infernape, Empoleon, and Torterra. But there's still so many great other Pokemon like Dialga, the box legendary, is one of my favorite legendary Pokemon. Um, and just so much more. And it was Christmas of 2007 when I got it because back then, releases were a lot more spread out than usual. Like Japan got it at some point in 2006, then it was America, then it was Europe. Um, but still, like I remember my friend, my who's just two doors up for me, uh, showing me his DS with Pokemon Diamond, which is what made me want to get a DS and Pokemon Diamond. And I would stay up, school nights playing it, hiding the DS under my pillow, faking being asleep and all that, and just enjoying it and exploring it. And yeah, I absolutely love Pokemon Diamond, and I will even say that I love the remakes, Brilliant Diamond. I love Gen 4. Gen 4 Sinnoh is my home, it's my region. I love it. That's why it's at number 3. Okay, so if you know me in real life, then you should know this was going to be my number 2 pick. I bet some of you even thought that this was going to be my number 1. But if you really know me, then you already know what my number 1 is. But as you can tell by the footage, number 2 goes to Skyrim. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Now, again, this is another game that I was introduced to by my cousin. Because the day that I got, the Dead Rising 2 Steelbook, I spent like €40 on a bunch of PlayStation 3 games, was the same day that my cousin bought Skyrim for the PlayStation 3. And I remember looking at him playing it, thinking it looked garbage, it was trash, it was a shit game. And I kept through for that for a little while until one day, when he was having the usual weekly sleepover, he had gone off somewhere, and I was bored, and I was like, you know what? Let me try this Skyrim game, and I did, and I've been playing it for the past 12 years, and it has been one of my absolute favorite games. Like I think on the Xbox One alone, I have put in several months worth of hours since 2016. Um, Mainly because on the Xbox One I can actually mod the thing, add in mods to actually extend the gameplay. But I love it. I love the story. I love the characters. Jarl Balgruuf, Cicero. I know Cicero has fans and doesn't have fans. I would consider myself a Cicero fan because I just love the zany, wacky, insane shit that he says. Now, that's just, like vanilla companions go. If we're adding mods into that, then Inigo is the best character mod companion out there. Um, but yeah, I will sit like the amount of times I've bought and sold and rebought Skyrim has become a running joke between me and my cousin. Like I own it on the Xbox 360, I own it on the Xbox One, I own it for the Nintendo Switch. I guarantee if there was a mobile port, I will fucking end up owning that too. Like it's become a massive meme in just in general of how many times can Bethesda port the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim to new systems. At some point, there's gonna be a fucking microwave toaster port to the game, but still, after all these years, Skyrim holds a place in my heart. I love the game. I love the lore. And that is why it's at number 2. I mean, come on. If you didn't see this coming, you clearly don't know me well enough. My number one favorite video game of all time, and I'll always say it, is Gears of War 2. I mean, I've done a 3 hour fucking deep dive into this franchise. That's how much I love it. So, yeah, Gears of War 2. I'm not going to go into too much details on why I love it because, again, I've done a 3 hour deep dive into the franchise. That should be enough explanation of why I love this franchise and this game enough. But, again, it was another game that I was introduced to by my cousin, and I love it. I didn't play one first, I played this one. I loved it. I love Ben Carmine. I love Marcus. I love Dom. I love Ty. I love the Coltrane. I love Baird. I love everyone in it. I love the story. I love just every single last thing about it. And yeah, I know Gears 3 is arguably the superior game and the great end to the trilogy, but Gears 2 will always hold a place in my fucking heart, and it will always be my favorite video game of all time. So, yeah, Gears of War 2 is number 1.
And well, that is going to wrap this video up. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought of my list in the comments down below, assuming you care for video games. And let me know what your favorite video game is at the moment. So yeah, that is going to wrap this month up. So I don't know what's coming next because I'm filming this on the 8th of July, well in advance for when this needs to be uploaded. But I want to work on the past 3 top 10s, the past 2 plus this top 10 that I have done. And yeah, I shall see you all on the next upload, whatever the hell that is.